If you're designing an RV park, you're probably doing it wrong, and I want to tell you a couple of reasons why. There's a question that I get asked all the time, and I want to help clarify it up through some visuals. And that question is, should I angle my RV site? This is actually a very good question, and I believe pretty important to RV park design when it comes to cost efficiency, customer experience, and ease of access. So let's go over a few things that are going to help us decide what angle, or if we should put an angle on our site. First thing I want to talk about when it comes to angle of sites is the easy one, the depth and width of the road, okay? So the smaller the road, the more the angle you want to create, okay? Follow me here. This is my road, okay? Let's say this is a very small one-way road at 12 foot. This one is 18, and let's go this one at the common, 24. That's usually what the cities are going to want you to put in if you are building in the cities. Okay, and I know this is not to scale, but let's do the 40-foot road. Okay, so now we have our different widths of our road. Okay, the smaller the road, the more the angle. On the 12-foot, we're gonna really steepen this angle, because at the end of the day, an RV needs a good 50-foot turning radius. That's also something else that the city requires generally in your engineering if you are building in the city limits, okay? So, next one, we can go a little bit less of an angle, and then little bit less of an angle, and then a 40-footer, we can go extremely perpendicular, okay? That's a big reason, road width, okay? Just imagine, an RV trying to turn in, okay? Notice how the curve gets steeper and steeper, okay? And you'll see a lot of people make these mistakes. They don't put enough angle on their site, and people are going off of the road trying to turn in to the site. And so you'll see a lot of people aftermath, lay some gravel in these sections, because people keep turning off the road because they can't make the turn in due to the lack of angle on the sites and potentially the lack of width on the road. So I hope that help explains the road width confusion. If you've got a 40-foot road, you got plenty to put in these sites, okay? But there's other things to think about instead of just width of road, okay? The next thing I want to talk about is guest experience. Okay, I'm not going to write it all out for time's sake, but guest experience, you're saying, well, how does the angle of the site affect the guest experience? Well, one, the drive in and drive out, we want to make it as easy as possible for them, and we don't want to, get them to grow gray hair just trying to back into your site. But it's also the direction you face when you're on your patio and or you're walking out your entrance of your RV. So, it's all about sight, right? So, your typical RV has, doors right over here, okay? Notice the view that these guys have, okay? So you're looking this way, all right? And, let's say there's another site next door, right? See how you're not looking directly into the other RV, but the more and more you decrease the angle of sight obviously decreases as well, okay? So when you're at a 90, you're staring directly at the other customer's unit. And if you're building tight sites, and a lot of people like building tight sites because they want to cram them in, that's not my style, but most people do. If you're putting them in crammed spaces, I never suggest a 90. I don't care how wide your road is, because there's very limited space in between two 90-degree units. And you're both just looking at each other, in between each other. It's claustrophobic, okay? But you have a lot more privacy when you have these angles, okay? Now, let me share another reason why angles are great, okay? Cost. So, the more you increase the angle, the smaller the road width. I know we already talked about the road width, but we didn't talk about the cost. Think about how many linear feet of road you're putting in, and how by putting your site at more of an angle, you can decrease the width. Because the cost difference between a 40-foot road and a 24-foot road is huge. And if you're budgeting for your RV park, you're going to see that the infrastructure on the road, if you're doing it right and using the correct compaction methods and gravel and or asphalt or concrete, you're going to see that that eats up a lot of budget to do it right. So lowering your cost is a big deal to me. So I prefer 24 foot. This is amazing. It gets you past the cities. You can have dual traffic, and it's just, you're not so close to the other side across either. You got to think about that. Once again, that goes into the guest experience as well. So I know this is starting to get messy, but I hope you see that there's more to angling a site than just the drive in and drive out. Okay? It's about the customer experience, the perspective, what you're looking at. Okay? The tighter the sights, the more the angle I would give. Now, if you're going for 40, 50 plus width sights, and you want to have a large road, then by all means, it's a lot cleaner and easier to design these straight sights, okay? And you can actually use less concrete and pad because you don't have to add this big umbrella for people to drive out of, okay? And that's a big deal to me. So it's really to each his own, and it depends on your site design. So let's review this. The width of the road should determine the angle of your site, because at the end of the day, we need to build these to add customer value. Okay? The next thing, guest experience. They're not staring at your neighbor's RV. And who wants to go camping and come out their patio and just stare at somebody else's window, right? So guest experience is a big thing to me. Cost efficiency. The more the angle, the less width the road can be. And if you're doing one ways, I mean, you can go with the 12 foot, but you're going to have to put a steep angle on it, which is still fine because there's a huge difference between 12 foot, 24 foot, and definitely 40 foot sites. If there's any other further in-depth questions that anybody may have about why you should angle your RV site, please reach out. I'm probably missing something. There's actually a lot more into angling the sites than people will consider. But hopefully this video helps, and hopefully my messy drawing makes sense as we move forward. And thank you so much. Check out my other videos if you actually want to learn RV park design and RV park economics. Thanks for chiming in.